All right. But anyway, they were talking about the tsunami, and what are some of the religious explanations? How can somebody look at this tsunami and say there is still a God, and God still loves us all? Basically, how can you justify that with a tsunami that kills 100 and I think it's like 50 or so thousand people, something like that?
Well, they were mostly other religions, and so they were sinners, and God killed them.
That was part of it.
Sorry.
We had
That's my first guess.
Again, there was a discussion on the email list about, how are religious people going to justify this. And, excuse me, one of the members posted a handy-dandy little list. The 4 most common ways that things are justified. 1, God is smarter than we are, so he must have had a really good reason to let this happen.
A really good reason for killing 150,000 people.
Exactly. So,
Gee.
if you hunt deer, then they're less likely to starve to death. So there's a good reason. So for something
a dead deer is a dead deer is a dead deer.
Yeah, something is going
to
to
kill
happen
it yourself.
Something apparently.
I guess we do that though, don't we?
Yeah, that's one of the justifications for hunting, is that they would all starve anyway, and pass disease and get in car wrecks. But anyway, apparently still God has found some kind of justification where killing 150,000 people is okay in comparison to blah. Now, an interesting thread that came off of that a little bit. Or actually, it's one of the other points here.
Can we respond to these one by one, or do you want to go through the list?
No, go for it.
My response to the first one, I think, would be, yeah, but if you're going to kill 150,000 people just so the rest don't starve, and you're a god,
whatever the problem is,
and you're a god, then what you do is they all drop dead painlessly.
Yeah.
Just instantly, because you wave your magic fingers, right? Yeah. And you don't destroy vast food supplies that are being stored, because you leave the people that survive with all this, with a lot less food reserves, plus, property damage, and, the simple pain and suffering of those that did die.
Yeah, the loss.
So, so you'd not only have to use the culling the deer herd argument, you'd have to use the culling the deer herd argument and further explain why not only you want to kill off some of the deer so the rest don't die,
but also napalm the forest.
Yeah, you also want to drop an atomic bomb on the forest where the deer are living. So the remaining deer get to stumble around with radiation sickness.
So anyway, that was the first one. God's smarter. There must be a really good reason that we just don't know about.
No, not buying it.
No. 2, God is angry, so we must not be religious enough. That's kind of the one that you said earlier.
And certainly, if though there are Christians in India, I don't know what the percentage of the population is, but it's enough that it causes some strife, because I hear news stories about it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know what part of the country they live in, so I can't correlate the deaths with the locations of the Christian Indian populations.
Yeah, yeah. So.
Still, that's just frickin' creepy.
Yeah. You don't worship the correct God, therefore he smites you.
Yeah, I thought he didn't do that anymore. Then there's another response, at least to Christians, right? I thought your God promised he wasn't going to do that kind of thing anymore. Wasn't that what the whole rainbow at the end of the last gigantic flood was all about?
Not necessarily. He wasn't going to wipe out everybody.
Okay.
He didn't do that. He's okay.
All right.
3, those who died either deserve it or are better off in heaven anyway.
Yeah, no, not true. Not true. Because when a huge wave is going to come crash down on top of you and drown you, it doesn't stop to ask, oh, wait, are you enjoying life? No? Okay.
Yeah. I fail to believe that all 150,000 people who have really bad lives all of a sudden congregate in Sumatra to be wiped out at one time for the mass suicide type thing, or euthanasia by God.
Sumatra.
Okay.
Not India. Okay.
And finally, the last one. God saved this one person way over here because she was faithful. Behold this wondrous miracle of his divine mercy. That's pretty common.
And incredibly sick.
Exactly.
Incredibly sick.
Exactly. God would find some way to save this one person over here.
If some cosmic entity drops an atomic bomb on the forest where the deer live, and one of the deer happens to be behind a big rock and survives, it's luck.
Yeah.
It is luck. It's not, boy.
Yeah.
Now, the deer gets lifted out by a helicopter before the atomic bomb. Then the god specifically meant for that deer to live.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are religious people out there who could justify things in many, many, many strange ways. And again, another point that was brought up is people are thankful. You know, my grandmother wasn't killed or something like that, and she was out there vacationing.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
So,
it's
yeah,
that kind of thing.
They're thankful because their grandmother wasn't killed or whatever, and she was vacationing over there. So, you know, praise be to God for not killing her. Well, what about him killing the other 150,000 people?
Yeah. What about the the sadness and tragedy of all those, the families of all those other victims, you assholes?
Exactly.
How dare you? How dare you call the survival of one, you know, of a tiny percentage of the potential victims a miracle? And how can you thank the God for their survival? He just murdered 150,000 people. Wake up.
Yep.
If he existed. Now, luckily for us atheists, again, giving you the Atheist Experience perspective on this, we don't believe there is such a guy.
Exactly.
We think this is a horrible natural tragedy.
Exactly.
There's nobody to blame. There's nobody to blame. It's just a tragedy, and now we got to go in there with aid.
That's right.
That's if our country is able to dig into its pockets to produce any, instead of spending it all on a big party for George Bush. It's time to go in there with aid to try to, you know, pick up the pieces and move on.
Yeah. So, yes, thank you and praise be to God for not killing everyone. So.